welcome to class 2, everybody. Or not class, class like 5, 6. I don't even know. I lost track of time. So, anyways, as you can tell, Eric's not here today. Class 4. Thank you, Siraj, for keeping up with the numbers of classes. But yeah, as you can see here, Eric is non-existent today because he's at a tennis tournament or something. He's always at a tennis tournament. So it's only me today. So y'all can roast me and bully me if you guys have questions. So we're gonna get started. Today we're gonna learn about multidimensional lists. It sounds pretty scary, but don't worry, it's not that hard. Nested loops, which is a little harder of a concept. Dictionaries, which is something pretty new, probably for most of you, even because nobody teaches us in Java scripts like CSP. So, but it's still an easy concept, and a little more. And obviously, we're gonna do midterm review because if you guys don't know, we'll talk about this more in more specific detail later. But we're gonna have a midterm next week, and y'all better study hard for it because there's some pretty difficult questions in there. So we're gonna go ahead and move on. So today's agenda. First we have a little review as always, and we have a good project, and then we have multi-dimensional lists, nested loops, dictionaries, how to use dictionaries, talking about midterm, yeah, blah blah. So y'all get the point. Alright, so review. So there are going to be two types of loops, right? So it's going to be for loop and while loop. And then we talked about this last time, so you guys should, if you guys did your projects and homework, which like only like 1 or 2 people did, y'all should know what this is. So for loop, basically, you can syntax, it's kind of like this: for I in range, or for I in my list, for I in my string. So you can iterate through a range or a list or a string, and it basically iterates through like a set amount. You can define how many times you want it to loop. And while loops are kind of like the same thing, but they run infinitely until like a condition is true. So it's kind of like a combination between a conditional and a loop. So hopefully, most of you guys probably know about this already because of CSP or whatever. In iterators and iterable data types, it's just I. Again, this can be anything. That can be a variable, right? You can make it underscore, but you can't make it like keywords or like weird like asterisks or something. Like you can't make it something that's not available to a variable. So pretty much think of this as a variable that changes in a loop. And we also learned about continues and breaks, which are sometimes pretty convenient, but you probably don't need it for most times. But they're nice to have sometimes, and you never know if you need them. And before I go on further, I'm gonna stop presenting real quick because I need to check if I did something correctly. So sorry about that, guys. But let me go ahead and check something real quick. And I'm only doing this because Eric's not here. If Eric was here, I would have not been doing this. But sorry for the inconvenience. All right, we're good to go. All right. Let me show you again. How do I do this? Present now. Entire screen. Yeah. All right. Can you guys see this? The screen. I'm just making sure we have the right good project because it'd be embarrassing if we showed somebody else. Then the person who deserves it doesn't get the credit. So I'm assuming you guys can see this. So we're gonna move on. Oh, somebody requested to join, and okay, the part. That was Abner, I believe. There it is. Okay, welcome, Abner. No Eric today, so it's just me. We're gonna move on. So to this week's good project, it was the only project that was submitted in time. Tyler Lin. Wow. So yeah, project worked. It was good, and we do understand that the project that we gave this time was kind of complicated. It was pretty hard, and I'm sure if any of you guys attempted to do it, you guys probably ran into like problems or maybe a few problems. But yeah, it was pretty much like a life simulator, and it just worked, and it was only one, so yeah. And then I think he searched up himself, so he did random.random. You could have just done random.random and then multiplied by 100, but it works either way. So good job, Tyler. Keep up the good work. And yeah, we're gonna move on now. So we're gonna learn about multidimensional lists, and these are think of them as lists inside of lists, right? So basically, as you can see here, we have. Why do I have a picture of a loop? Huh. Well, anyways, you're gonna have a list, right? You can see a list of 1, 2, 3, and a list of 4, 5, 6, and a list of 7, 8, 9 inside of another list. This is what we call a 2D list. If you've done Java or JavaScript, it's called 2D array, or yeah. And then this is a 3D list or 3D array, but you barely ever run into these unless you're actually like, doing something really complicated. Most of the times, you're only probably gonna be using just 1D, just regular plain old lists. But sometimes you have to use these 2Ds. They're not as rare. I mean, they're not as common. They're pretty rare, but sometimes in these things, either they're trying to troll you or it's pretty complicated. So don't worry about 3Ds too much, but just know that these 2Ds and 3Ds exist. So again, useful in some but not all cases. So as you can see here, we have my lists, right? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And that's all part of one big list. And as you can see, each list element in the big list called my list has 3 integers in them, which is 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, 6, and then 7, 8, 9. And then we're going to run a loop here. So for I in my list, again, I is an iterator. It can be anything. And we're running through everything in my list, right? And we're printing I. So remember, when we run through my list, we're not running through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Basically what this means, right, is saying, okay, so we check my list, and what kind of elements are in there? There are lists, right? So this whole thing, right, 1, 2, 3, this part is one element, this whole part's another element, and this whole part's another element. Think of these as individual integers, right? This is 1, 2, 3. Right, so we're just going to iterate through 1, 2, 3, and we're going to print them, so you print the lists like that. So, do y'all get it? I mean, I think it should be a pretty easy concept to understand, because it's just lists within lists. So, I'm going to move on, because I don't want to spend too much time on this. So, nested loops, these are the harder part. I mean, the only reason why I did nested lists was, I mean, I'm sure most of you guys already know their existence, but if you guys didn't, surprisingly just convenient. It's kind of like continues and breaks. You don't really need them, but they can come in handy sometimes. Sorry, gotta drink a lot of water. So we got nested loops here. So they're like multidimensional lists. They're kind of like loops within loops. So this kind of gets a little complicated, but I spent a lot of time doing this, so hopefully you guys understand. So for one iteration of the outer loop, right? So outer loop being in this, picture example, this while loop is an outer loop, this whole entire thing, right? This is a Java example, I think, or JavaScript. I don't think it really matters, but as you can see here, there's like the little what do you call these brackets? Squiggly brackets, and then that's called the outer loop, and then you see we have an inner loop, which is a for loop. Right? So for one iteration of that outer loop, the inner loop here runs through all of its iterations. So as you can see in this example, I'll go over this slowly. So we have a list, right? It's called my list. And we have, hi, my name is Python. And these are all the values, the string values inside of my list. And then we have a loop here, right? This is a for loop. So we're saying for I in range 0 to 3. So that means how many times is this outer loop gonna run, guys? Somebody type in the chat. A brave soul, please volunteer. So that outer for loop runs 3 times, and then this inner loop says for j in my list. So how many times does this, inner loop run? The for j loop. How many times will this loop run? And hint is look at my list. 5, right? Because it runs for every single value in my list, right? Which is these strings values, which are we have 5 of them. So every time you run through that, we're gonna print j, which are these string values, because again we're iterating through my list, which is this thing, and we're gonna print j, and for j means for every element in it. So we want to print this, we want to print this, and then this, and this, and this. Right, so that's why in this debug console here, as you can see, an iteration of the inner loop is I kind of made a bunch of purple arrows, but hi, my name is Python. Right, these are all these 5 strings are a product of this one for loop, the inner for loop, and in the outer for loop we're running it 3 times, so it's gonna run again the 5 times. So again, an iteration of the inner loop. And then it does it for one last time because it runs 3 times. So it's just going to run hi, my name is Python, and it's just going to, run again, because that's another iteration. So kind of think of it as every time this runs fully, and then after that it ends, right? So we're gonna go back here, run, and then there's another for loop, so we run all of it, and then we go back here. So yeah, and then as you can see in the red brackets, we have how many in Python. All this is one iteration of the outer loop, which is this loop. So as you can see, we have 3 of these and 15 of these, because 5 times 3 is 15. So every word is one iteration of the inner loop. Yeah, correct. So all these words here are one iteration of this inner loop, right? And the outer loop, one iteration of the outer loop is all these, because the for loop, the inner for loop, right? It printed all these out. So that's what the product of this one iteration of this outer loop is. So any other questions? I'm going a little faster, so I can give you guys examples after the next slide. Looks like we don't have questions. We're gonna move on. So a little more on nested loops. These are just some, tips and tricks. So you can nest any type of loop within any type of loop, which means that you can put a for loop inside a while loop, or a while loop inside of a for loop, or a for loop inside of a while loop inside of a for loop, or literally anything, right? And you can break out or continue an iteration of the inner loop with continues and breaks, and you can also break out or continue an iteration of the outer loop with continuing breaks. And you should not use the same iterator for a nested for loop. This it can work for some languages and some loops, but it's highly unrecommended in most languages, including Python. Well, I was taught to not use the same variable for nested loops, right? So yeah, I mean, as you can see here on the slide before, I used I here and J here, because if I use I and I mean, I think it'll still work, but it's just not conventional. There is a real reason why, because sometimes you have these and the I changes and it impacts this inner loop. And we have a question: can you have nested loops within nested loops? Yes, you can actually. You can have a for loop and then inside of a for loop and inside of a for loop. And sometimes you might need that, but once you get into competitive programming, which I doubt many of you guys will, there's a thing called time complexity, which is basically how long it takes to run your program, right? And Python actually, it's in nature a very slow language, because Python doesn't compile their code into binary or something similar to computer language. It just runs the script, and it just runs Python, not like a Java virtual or something, right? And Java, it's a little faster, and I think C at least compiles it into binary. So the binary compilations, they help the program run faster because it's the computer's language, right? Think of Python as kind of like something like every time you hear something, you'd search it up in the dictionary. But then if you run it in C, then it's kind of like the same thing as just speaking English, right? So Python in nature takes longer to run their programs, but it's really easy to read, really easy to learn, really easy to use. But then but a bad thing about it is that sometimes it's kind of tricky to have multiple nested loops in them, just because Python is pretty slow. So imagine if you have a for loop and a for loop and a for loop. So every time another for loop is added, the duration, the length that the outer for loop takes to run, it increases exponentially, right? Because you're running a lot of for loops inside of a big for loop, and then that big for loop, if you increase the length of that, then it's just gonna be exponential. So that's why usually in competitive you don't want to have nested loops. Sometimes you just absolutely need them, but you try to not use nested loops. But in Python cases, in our case, we're not really that experienced, and I'm pretty sure none of you guys know how to do competitive programming. So for you guys, yeah, nested loops are completely okay. And I just saw that. So, yeah, that semicolon right there should not exist. That was me being a Java person. I'm a Python person, but that was me thinking that this is Java and putting a semicolon there. That was a typo. Don't worry about that. Just gonna put my cursor there so you guys can ignore it. So in this case, right, it just disappeared. Whatever. So first we import random, right? It's kind of like importing a library in Java, or again, it's kind of like borrowing a book from a library. You're just taking that and then reading it. It's kind of like importing a package or downloading a package from online. And then we make a list variable here, so it's going to be called my list, and it's going to have the number was greater than 0.5. And then it says while true, right? So in and of itself, it's just going to run infinitely. Like, just by itself, it's going to run infinitely, because if there was nothing here, let's say just like print, it's just going to run infinitely because it's just true, and there's nothing to stop it. But inside here, we have random number equals random. So this basically generates a random number between 0 and 1, or a random float value. And then we have a conditional. If random number is greater than 0.5, so that's like about a 50% chance for it to happen. And if that does happen, we're gonna roll this inner loop here. So for I in my list, which is this list we got here, and you're gonna print I. So I being the number was greater than 5, right? So that's gonna happen. But if it's not, right, else statement, if it happens to be less than 0.5, then we just print this is less than 0.5 and we break, which means we kill this loop, right? So as you can see here, in this case, when I ran it, it did it 2 times before stopping. So this first time it ran, the random number probably was greater than 0.5, so it printed everything here. And then the second time it was also greater than 0.5, so it printed here. And the last time it was smaller than 0.5, so it says this is less than 0.5, and then it stopped. So that's that. Before I do dictionaries, I want to show some examples, just so nobody can get confused. That's maps. Oh my gosh, what's happening? All right, so I'm gonna take a quick drink real quick. All right. So how do I want to show this? Let's do a loop inside a loop inside a loop, right? So I'm gonna make a list. Just a pretty long list, and then I'll do for I in range, and I want the outer loop to run 3 times, right? And then I'm just gonna put another loop right away. So again, try not to repeat iterators. So I'm gonna use j this time. In range is 0 to 3 again. And then I'm gonna do for let's do k, because ij, k, I think that's the order of the alphabet. And then this time we're gonna iterate through my list, and then we're gonna print k. So somebody willing to try to calculate how many lines of output we're gonna get? Anybody? We have, let me add 0 in here just to make it 10, because it's a nice number. So we have 10 elements in here, right? And then we have 3 for loops. So somebody wants to guess how many lines of output there is going to be? I don't even know, to be honest. Okay, I think I have an idea. Was he 60? I don't know, actually. Would it be 60? We'll just test. Then whoops. Yeah, I think it will be 90. I mean, I'm not that good at math, so I don't really know, but we'll run it. So it was 90, right? So that's because this is 10 times long, right? So 10 numbers long. So this for k loop, it's gonna run 10 times. And then for j loop, it runs 3 times, but every time this runs once, remember this runs 10 times, right? So because this runs 3 times, it's gonna be 3 times 10. So this runs 30 times. Everything in here. There are 30 loops. And there's another outer loop, right? So for I in range 0 to 3, again, every time this runs once, this runs 3 times. And what's 30 times 3? It's 90. So that's why we printed 90. And these are not just random numbers, these are just all the items in my list. So hopefully y'all understood that. Any questions? Did everybody get the concept of loops? Because I mean, I need every single one of you guys to say yes in the chat before I move on, because this is a pretty important concept for our midterm. So everybody please say yes in the chat. Alright, seems like we have everybody. Abner, are you good? Abner didn't answer yet. Gotta make sure everybody understands this so nobody falls behind. Or Tyler didn't answer either. Tyler and Abner, do you guys get this for loop thing that I did here? I mean, it's fine. These are being recorded, right? Yeah, so you guys can always watch it on YouTube, but again, like, it's kind of, this is a live session, so you guys get to, like, this is a live session, so you guys get to ask questions on, like, YouTube videos and stuff, so. Well, Eric's irrelevant. He's gone, so. So, Tyler, are you here, or are you, like, on your phone or something? I'm not offended, bro, but just tell me. Alright, you are here. So do you understand the nested loops concept? I'm pretty sure you do, but just making sure. Alright, cool. And Abner is playing Overwatch or whatever, so we'll move on. Alright, thanks for answering, guys. So dictionaries. This is the new concept, so I highly advise that everybody pays attention. So, dictionaries. They're a type of data structure, right? Can somebody tell me the only other data structure that we talked about previously? There was that one data structure that we used a lot, and I taught you guys. I think 2 weeks ago, or maybe last week. I think it was 2 weeks ago, probably. No answers? Think of something that contains data. What contains data? Yeah, lists, right. So, dictionaries are kind of like lists in a way that they store information, but think of dictionaries in Python as a literal dictionary. It's literally just a dictionary. That's what it is. Like, it's just that. So it's pretty easy, right? So syntax for dictionary is going to be the dictionary name. Eric messed up. You're not supposed to put a space in the name of anything, really. So pretend it's just, one word. And it's going to be equal to, and then the bracket, or curly braces, whatever. And then you're going to have a key name and a value name, right? And these can be integers, I think, or it can be strings. So you're going to have key name, which is going to be like the word, and then the value, which is going to be the, the definition, I guess, if you will, right? So, like in this example, right, this dict, which is the name, equals brand, and then Ford, model, Mustang, year 1964, right? So as you see here, this is a key, right? So we're kind of asking dictionary, right? Like we're asking, what's the definition of brand? And then the dictionary answers Ford. Or what's the definition of model? And they answer Mustang. What's the definition of year? And it answers 1964. And then as you can see here, the syntax is it's a little complicated, but hang in there. So it's just gonna be like a regular variable declaration, but instead we're gonna use these curly brackets to declare. And then technically you don't have to do it this way, but this way just looks better because it's like line by line. So as you can see, we have the key, and then colon, and then a value name, and then we have a comma, and then you press enter, and then you do the same thing. And then as you can notice here, make sure not to add a comma after the last value because there's nothing coming after that. And as you can see, as I already said, there's a key on the left, value on the right, key corresponds to the value. And remember when we did lists, right? We had all these methods, so we're gonna have them again, but instead they're for dictionaries. So again, Eric did this for us. He circled or squared up or rectangled up all the important functions they can call on dictionaries. Right? So get method returns the value of the specified key, although I prefer to do it another way. And there's keys, which is a function that returns a list containing the dictionary's keys. Never had to use that before, but I don't know why I circled it. Pop, which removes the element with the specified key. Update, which updates the dictionary with the specified key value pairs. I'm assuming it just changes it. And then values, which returns the list of all values. So it's kind of like keys, but different, right? So let's implement a few of these. So what kind of dictionary do you guys want? What kind of stuff should we put in our dictionary? Any suggestions? Food, sure. So, all right, and yeah. So we're gonna make a food dictionary, and somebody give me a food item, please. Give me something that's edible. Something like this piece of gum here that I'm gonna chew on because my throat's hurting. All right, put in fall, my favorite food, and then we'll put in my favorite food. What else is there? Rice. And we'll put Asian people. Alright. Oh, what am I doing? This should be commas. Give me one more. Curry or beans. Let's do both. Beans. Causes diarrhea. I don't even know if I spelled that right, and I don't care. And then we got curry. Staple to trees. Sure. It's probably better than this. Curry, India. Alright. And after we do this, no comma on the last one. And then after we declare all this, right? This is our food dictionary. This thing cool you can do in Replit is you can press this minus thing, just compresses everything, so you don't have to look at all that, but it doesn't really matter. So we created this, and all the keys are pho or pho, rice, beans, curry, and all the values are my favorite food, Asian people, stay with trees, in India. So this is my preferred way of doing this get thing, which returns the value of the specified key. The way I like to do it is just kind of like lists, right? So we're gonna do food ticks, and then remember this. So let's do rice. So remember in lists, right? We use these brackets to call like the index of something. Like I can give you guys an example. Actually, this is a terrible example because it might not make sense for some people. Let's make the values a little more random. I think that's random enough. Yeah, so in this case, we have my list, and we're going to print my list in the second. So can somebody tell me what this line will print? Three. Correct, yeah. This is a second index value. So it's going to print 3. And it's kind of like the same thing, right? It's saying, what is rice in food dict? And we have rice here, Asian people, right? So if you run this, it works. Now you could do what Eric did, which is an inferior method, I think, because it's more work. You can do fooddicts.get and then rice. And I'm sure this will work too. Yeah, it works. So same thing. That's get or how I prefer to do it. I mean, I can do both times, just so you guys can see examples of both. You feel free to follow along in your own Replits, just so you guys can get the experience. So that's my preferred way. I'll comment it. And then that's another way. And then we'll see keys. Let's run keys. I never run that. I never had that before, but you need a key bit. I don't know if it'll work, but oh yeah, so it works. So it's gonna do the prints like the dict keys, pho, rice, beans, curry. Cool. And pop, which removes the element with the specified key. So if you want to get rid of it, let's say you want to get rid of curry, right? I'm sorry, curry's good. I love curry, but we're gonna get rid of it. So we're gonna do pop was it? Then we're gonna get rid of curry. I'm sorry, Siraj. Okay. All right, fine. Well, we won't remove curry. We'll remove rice. All right. Actually, no. Rice is too good though. Beans. I don't like beans. All right. We'll remove beans. Okay, and then we'll do the same thing. We'll print all the keys, so I can show you guys that it actually disappeared. So, as you can see, first time we printed, we have pho, rice, beans, and curry, and next time beans is gone. So that just removes beans from the dictionary, like ripping a page out. And update the dictionary with specified key value pairs. So let's try that. Let me actually search it. Whenever update syntax Python, I spelled that wrong and I don't care. Let's see, W3 schools, trustworthy. Okay, update color. Alright. So, oh, you're racist or whatever. So, now I want to change curry's value, right? So, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna do predict and then dot update as they did it, and then I think how they did it was a curly bracket. Yeah. So we're gonna use I like that Mr. B stat right there. But we're gonna use a curly bracket, and then we're gonna do curry, right? And then let's change the value to spicy, right? And then I wonder if you can just print out the whole entire map or dictionary. I wonder. Let's try it. So you can't do that. All right. We'll just do dot keys then, I guess. Huh? Did I mess up? Well, that's awkward. Oh, I need to use a colon. What am I doing? There you go. Yeah. So, oh wait, that doesn't really do anything, does it? Doesn't show that I actually changed it. My bad. It's been a while since I used dictionaries. Forgive me, guys. I wonder if this still works though. Hey, you can do it now. So as you can see here, right, we have all my favorite food, rice, Asian people, and curry, spicy. So you can see here that we successfully changed the value of curry into spicy instead of India, because that could be offensive. So, and I mean, in Java, you could change it by doing some other things, but for now, just know that that's the method that you change a value in the dictionary. And then values is the same thing. I'm pretty sure I don't need to do it, but I'll do it anyway. So, and then we run this, and yeah, my favorite food, Asian people, and spicy, which are all the things we have. So that's that on dictionaries. So hopefully everybody understood everything until here. So does everybody get everything so far? Ask questions now, or forever hold your peace. Alright, looks like everybody's good. So we're gonna move on. Gonna get rid of all this, just so I can show you guys something cool. So you can actually iterate through dictionaries as well, just like this. So I'm just gonna do for I in food dict. And then let's do, I think it iterates through all the keys, right? So if I did print I think that'll just print pho, rice, beans, and curry. I haven't done it in a while. Yeah, so it does that. Now, what can I do if I wanted to make the loop print my favorite food, Asian people, staple to trees in India? What should I do instead of print I? And here's some hints. Give you guys some more time because it might take a while. Keys. Well, yeah, I guess you could do that too. Well, if you want to do that, you don't even need a loop. But I wanted to use a loop while doing it. So I think how I would do it is you can use no, not values. So we'll do food dict, and then remember this thing, food dict of I. So that, remember, this I is gonna be pho, rice, beans, and curry. right? So if we do this, what's food dict of pho? It's gonna be my favorite food. So that actually is gonna print out all of the values of a food dict, right? So yeah, and you could have just done it by, as you guys suggested, doing print food dict, dot values, and that would work, but it would print in a different format, which is kind of messy. So this also works, right? And we can do something cool like we can do a conditional in here. We can be like if food dict of I, right? So if whatever we're going through is I, or whatever I is equal to, let's do curry, print we love curry, and then else alright, and then we'll just put curry somewhere else in the list just so it doesn't seem random. We'll put it like here. So there you go. And if you run this, oh wait, it's just I, because curry's a key. So if you ran this, it'll do it's good food, we love curry, it's good food, right? Because I are these key values, right? And every time you run through, right, the first key value is pho. Is pho curry? No, so we print it's good food. Is rice curry? No, so we print it's good food. Is curry curry? Yes, so we print we love curry. And then is our beans curry? No, so we print it's good food. And if I want to do it like the way I did it earlier, and then we can do like that. So that's saying whenever the key or the value of the key of food dict is India, in which case is curry, then we print we love curry. So if you run this, same thing happens, right? We just changed up what we want to access. So that's how you use dictionaries. Does everybody understand that concept of how to use dictionaries, guys? Actually, I'm gonna have to also require everybody to say yes again, because this is a pretty important concept for midterm as well. So, I mean, I'm gonna put at least one dictionary question on the midterm. So, 4 people said yes. We need 3 more, but Abner's playing Overwatch, so we need 2 more yeses. We'll go over that really, really soon, Wasi. Tyler, you good? And who else didn't answer? Okay, Austin, good. Tyler, are you there? Why do I feel like Tyler? Alright, buddy, okay. Do you understand dictionaries? Again, if you guys don't understand, it's okay. Just watch the YouTube videos or Discord ping me or message me if you have my number. And I'll always be free, or not always, but I'll sometimes be free to answer questions, and I'll try my best to do it. And especially this week, y'all are gonna do your midterm. It's gonna be really stressful. And I kind of rushed through today's lesson because of 2 reasons. First off, it's kind of 2 of them are just kind of repetitive, and this dictionary thing is pretty easy because it's kind of literally just a dictionary, right? So easy stuff. And now, guys, midterm. I know it's a shocker. We didn't announce this earlier, but there is a midterm coming up, and you know how Pioneers, we have an intermediate class for you guys, and then the advanced class. So the advanced already had their midterm last time, and their midterm went pretty well. So we're gonna have a midterm too, right? So as Wasi requested, this is the format. So it's next week, August 14th, 2020, which is next Friday. Yeah. And the logistics, right? It's gonna be 1 hour long, and then 30 minutes at the end to go over the solution. So, it's gonna last probably from 3 to 4:30. It might go a little overtime depending on if people have any other questions, but you guys can leave after like 1 hour and 30 minutes. But it's gonna be 1 hour long. You guys are gonna have 1 hour to do your midterm, and then 30 minutes at the end for solutions. And then we're going to give you guys 3 pretty challenging questions, which are considerably more difficult than the average homework questions, right? So they are pretty difficult. So obviously you guys want to distribute your time to spend 20 minutes per question. And if you guys don't study, I don't think you guys will be able to answer any. But if you guys do study, you guys can probably answer one or two. And to be completely honest, I don't expect any of you guys to get all three. I mean, I'm sure some of you guys who have prior coding experience and actually been paying attention could probably do all three. And like somebody who like turns in their homework and does their projects, you guys can definitely do all three questions. But for some other people, you guys might not, because 20 minutes is pretty tight per question. And we have 2 sample questions after this, and you guys can see the sample questions, you guys are gonna get scared. So he made a midterm with the expectation that we'll get 2. Kinda. I mean, I expect all of you guys to get 3s, obviously, right? But some of you guys are not gonna get 3s. That's kind of just factual. So, and then you guys obviously kind of like regular classes. You guys still get 0.5 credits. I mean, I'm sure none of you guys care about credits, but like it's kind of important. It's really important actually, because credits. If you guys want a board position later in the future, which you know, it's pretty cloudy. You know, colleges love board positions. So if you guys want any, and you guys want to apply for them, then you guys can you know, stack up credits. And basically, how credits are gonna work, I don't know if he told you guys yet, but so we had a board meeting yesterday, and we decided that the minimum requirement of credits, right, is gonna be five credits. So you're gonna need 5 credits in total to apply for a board position in the far future. In far future, as in like probably like even way after school starts, because we decided on like a board to member ratio, like kind of like maybe like around 7-1 to 10-1. Right, so we don't want too many board members. We don't want board member inflation, so we're gonna keep it like maybe at like 5 or 6 or 7. So once the position opens up, you're gonna need 5 credits to do it, and you're also gonna need 5 credits to teach other people Python. And because our club's goal is to like, you know, teach people Python, obviously that's what we're doing right now. And once school starts, we're gonna become an official club, and we're gonna probably like contact local facilities and ask them if you can hold like workshops, even though COVID's the thing. Like we're gonna do it online, obviously, but you guys will need you know, 5 credits to even apply to teach. That's like the minimum requirement. It's like having like a 3.5 GPA to apply for like a honor society or something, right? It's just minimum requirement. You need 5 credits, and the only reason why we're doing that is to show that, you know, you show dedication to the club and you've actually done some of our work. So it's 5, and for, you know, coming to these classes, you guys always get 0.5, and if you guys did your projects and stuff, you guys also get 0.5, and then yeah, if you guys successfully did the midterm, right, and we're gonna grade it depending on like how other people did. So we're not gonna be like, oh, if you get like 1 or 2 questions right, you're gonna get 0.5 more. We're gonna see how everybody else does, right? If like everybody else fails but Siraj somehow gets like everything correct, we might, you know, take a look at all the other ones and like give them 0.5 credits. But obviously some of you guys are not gonna get 0.5 credits extra. But I mean, all of you guys are obviously gonna get 0.5 initially, but you're not gonna get 0.5 extra added onto that for good performance. But as long as you try, as long as you can see the effort, like as long as you don't submit like print hello world, we're gonna give you guys 0.5 credits. And again, these credits are not mandatory. You're not gonna get kicked out of the club, but it's really nice to have for board positions and if you want to teach in the future. And we again recommend that you guys do your homework and stuff, because obviously credits, and also because we decided that how our you know, hiring process is gonna work for people who are gonna teach Python is obviously we're gonna have the minimum credit requirement of 5 credits, and also on addition we're gonna have like a coding interview. And if anybody any of you guys know how CS coding interviews work, basically just sit down and you basically present them with the coding question, and then you see how they go about solving it, and you guys kind of talk it out and stuff. So it's gonna be something like that. That just tests how social you are and how good you are at teaching, just so we know you're not a complete sociopath and you don't like know how to communicate with other people. And we're also gonna like ask you guys to teach us the basic Python concept. I'm gonna be like, oh, what's a for loop? And you guys are gonna have to tell us what a for loop is, or something like that, right? So credits are pretty important, even though they're not required. That's the main point. And Good news, midterm is open notes. You guys can use Google. You guys can use these slides. You guys can use literally anything. But you're not allowed to get help from other people, right? So you're not allowed to like privately Discord message people. And obviously, there's no way for me to check it. I can't really do much about it. But it's an honesty system really. And if you guys copy paste code, it's kind of obvious. Eric will be able to tell. So don't do it. But it's open note. So you guys can use Google, which should be enough. But I mean, obviously, I would like to have no shame plugging and be like, oh, use our slides. They're the best resource, but that's not true. Google is the best resource. These slides are good, but I think Google is better if you want specific help. So I suggest searching up things on Google during the midterm if you actually are confused about like syntax or whatever. And obviously, we're not going to help you guys during the midterm because it's a midterm. We're not going to be like, oh, you have to put a colon there or something. Like, yeah, so it's a midterm. And here's the content. Not all the content below may be required, as in like we may not test on all of them, but we haven't even made the midterm yet. But when we do, we're probably gonna try to include all those, maybe except continues and breaks, because those are just kind of optional things. But it's good if you know all of them. Please study all these. Maybe go over some slides and stuff, and that's how to study, right? So how to study? Go over lesson slides. They're pretty good, and I mean, these are why our slides exist, right? I mean, I know before I said Google is better, but that's only when you need specific help. Going over our lesson slides give you a holistic overview of what we taught. And please watch our YouTube videos. We want our views to be up. We want 1 million views. You know what I mean? We gotta get the ad revenue going. So please watch our YouTube videos and go over lesson slides. That's probably the best way to review, to be honest. And then you can also attempt previous homework problems if you didn't do them in projects. And also this week's sample midterm problems, which are going to come next. And they're pretty difficult, so that's that. And then another way you can do is Discord ping us, and we're always down to help. Like, literally Aiden texted me, like, and then I was in the middle of practicing violin, and I helped him, solve his problem. So, like, as long as we're not, like, actually occupied, we'll probably be able to help. So please ping us if you need help. And I think this last one is sometimes really, really underappreciated and just kind of like an underdog. Play around with it, like really, like just experiment with it. Try to break your own code, like see what different things do, and like see what works, see what doesn't. Just play around with code, and that's probably one of the better ways to understand how lists work, dictionaries, conditionals, loops, all these. So again, you guys are gonna have to know all these content and how to apply them, and it's not necessarily you don't have to memorize the syntax, but it might be convenient so you don't waste Google searching time. Again, you guys only get 20 minutes per question, and you guys are about to see how difficult they are in the next slide. So, however you guys think hard is gonna be this midterm, you guys can see after the next slide, and you guys can brace yourself for how much you're gonna study, depending on the next slide. And we again, don't be discouraged. I mean, you're probably gonna be discouraged, but don't be discouraged. Again, if you show up and even try, we'll give you 0.5 credits. It's like a regular class, right? It's except a little more stressful. So just still come, please. But we recommend that you still try the midterm because it's a midterm. It's like a school midterm. So, any questions before I reveal the sample questions, the midterm sample questions? And nope. All right, we're gonna move on. This is our first sample question, right? And I'm not gonna do it right now because we're running short on time. But you guys can do this on yourself. I'll just explain the question. So, if you guys heard of USICO, right? And USICO is pretty much the computing Olympiad, so like the CS Olympiad, if you will. And they have pretty difficult. They have really, really difficult questions, and I've been trying to do them. They're kind of hard. And I'm not even past the first division yet, so I'm not really that good. But they like using cows in their problems, so I kind of like made a joke about that. And all of our midterm questions are gonna be about cows. So here's the sample question, right? So it's called Moo Alpha Theta because cows moo. Oh, please on me. All right, but anyways, the question reads: Math has never been Bessie the cow's forte, but she wants to join her school's Moo Alpha Theta, which is NMHS, National Math Society Club. And the requirement to join Moo Alpha Theta is to have taken pre-calculus, haha, which Bessie did, and to be able to differentiate between odd and even numbers, right? Like, I'm sure you guys all know what odd and even numbers are. In her interview, she is presented with a list of integers and is told to pick out all the odd numbers because cows only like even numbers. Oh my god, my back hurts. Anyways, input format, as you can see on the right, is first we're gonna have one integer n, which will be a number of numbers that C is presented with, and the next n inputs are gonna be the numbers themselves. So as you can see here, we first input 6, which means there are gonna be 6 integers after that, and then these are the actual numbers 2, 5, 0, 4, 3, 1. And the output format, the number of numbers remaining after the odd numbers are taken out, and afterwards the numbers still remaining. So this 3 represents how many numbers are remaining, right? So we took out all the odd numbers. We took out 5, we took out 3, we took out 1. So we have 2, 0, 4 remaining, and 0 is an even number. I searched it up, I fact checked it. So 2, 0, 4, they're even numbers. That's 3 remaining. So we print out 3, and then we print out the actual even numbers remaining. So 204. So that's the first question, and we do have a submission link as always, and I'll put that in Discord after the thing ends. So pretty interesting question. So I'm just curious. On a scale of 1 to 10, how hard do you guys think this question is? Like 10 being really, really hard and 1 being like easy. 7? 6 or 7? Yeah. And I want everybody to answer. I want to see how this deals with everybody. Just so we don't make it too hard. 7 to 8. 8. Is that everybody? If one more person answers, I can move on to the next one, which is kind of harder. Okay, 7, yeah. So, it's pretty difficult. Obviously, it's going to require a lot of thought. I will say, though, this is probably around the difficulty of the actual midterm questions, or maybe even slightly less difficult, right? The next question that's coming up is probably going to be, like, if there are any questions like it, it's probably going to be the most difficult, like, level of midterm questions. The next question is pretty fairly difficult, and even I'll probably have a little bit of problem trying to code it up, but this is another question, and this, if you can solve this one, I can almost guarantee you'll be good for the midterm, right? If you can solve this under like 30 minutes, you'll definitely be good for the midterm. So I know it's a little long, but let me explain. So this one's called cow mystery, right? Because chemistry, but it's a cow. So, but Bessie the cow again gave up a math and decided to pursue a career in chemistry. She leads a project that correlates an element's reactivity with the number of its valence electrons, because y'all have taken chemistry, hopefully, unless you're a freshman, in which case, I'm sorry. She has a textbook made of dry epay with the currently known elements. They are represented in the textbook so that H, parentheses, 1 parentheses, means that an element H has 1 valence electron. The current elements in Bessie's textbooks are these: H1, He2, Li1, and then I'm not going to read all of them. Bessie discovered that if the sum of the valence electrons of the 2 elements is equal to 8, they will react with one another. However, once they react, the elements magically disappear into thin air. Bessie wants to publish these findings in a paper, but needs to conduct an experiment proving her theory to be correct. Thus, she sets up an experiment in which she has an assortment of test tubes containing random elements and wishes to cause a reaction to occur in the most amount of tubes. Thus, she needs your help to determine which element will produce the most reactions and insert it into all the test tubes. So, let me try to rephrase that. Yeah, you need Chem and Python. This is pretty easy stuff, dude. It's kind of provided for you. If you have like a periodic table, like one of these things, you should be good to go. And you don't even need a periodic table to be true. Like it's already stated there, right? And let me try to rephrase a question, right? I mean, actually, the input format and output format can explain. So input format is an integer n, which that's the first integer, which represents the number of test tubes, and then the n elements that are in their respective test tubes, right? So here we have boron, or B, H, which is helium. Wait, is that helium? I think that's helium. Li, lithium, aluminum, and fluorine. So we have these 5 elements that goes after 5, because we have 5 elements. And output format is the number of valence electrons of an element that will cause the most reactions when inserted into all the test tubes. So it's 5 because we check boron, right? Boron here we have 3 valence electrons. We check helium, which has 2. Lithium 3. Where's lithium at? Lithium. Oh, lithium has 1. My bad, I'm stupid. Valence electrons, not total electrons. So lithium has 1 valence electron. Aluminum has 3, I believe. Yeah, 3. Fluorine has 7 fluorine. Yes, Velocity, I'm out to get you. You better have paid attention to Mr. Astry's class. Yeah, so as you can see here, we got 3. What is this? 2, 1, 3, 7, and remember, that element and the other element's valence electrons, they have to add up to 8, right? So, yeah. Anyways, so as you can see, right, we have 2 elements which are boron and lithium, that they have, or not lithium, boron and aluminum, which have 3 valence electrons, and then all the other ones, this has 2, this has 1, this has 7, right? So because they have 3, we want to put in an element that has 5 valence electrons, because if we do that, it'll react with boron because that has 3, and 3 plus 5 is 8. Will it react with helium? No, because helium's 2, 2 plus 5 is 7, not 8. Lithium is 1, 1 plus 5 is not 8. Aluminum, 3, 3 plus 5 is 8, so that's 2 reactions. And fluorine is 7, and 7 plus 5 is not 8. So that's 2 reactions. And if you test any other number, right? Even if you tested 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, yeah, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, yeah. And there's no 8, so it's only up to 7. So if you tested any of them, they'd either get 0 or 1 reaction. So that's why 5 is the number of valence electrons of the element that will cause the most reaction. Not the specific element itself, because I was going to do a specific element, but then I realized that we have some repeats. So as you can see, phosphorus here with 5 has the amount of valence electrons as nitrogen, which is 5. So we obviously don't want to make it ambiguous. So it's just the number of valence electrons of the most reactive element. So does everybody understand the question? I know it's a little hard. I spent like an hour trying to come up with this question, so y'all can roast me now, but of my terrible puns and whatever. But does everybody understand the question? Hopefully. Because I actually want all of you guys to try this, because if you guys can do this in 30 minutes, you guys are definitely good for the midterm. If you guys can do it in an hour, you might need to do a little more work. If you can't do it at all, you definitely need to study. So does everybody understand the question? Please type in the chat, yes or no. Just tell me if you understand the question or not. I don't see any responses. Getting me nervous here. Does anybody understand this question at all? Just type yes if you understand. All right, Eden understands it. All right, anybody else? I want more than one person to understand it. Goal is to show the element that is most reactive. Yeah, so pretty much, right? So you want to show the number of valence electrons of the element that is most reactive, right? So that's why we printed 5 instead of like P or something. Yeah. Does everybody else understand? Andrew, Wasi, Austin, Tyler, and Abner, who's playing Overwatch. Alright, Andrew understands. Wasi understands. Alright, everybody's good. So that's a sample question. So again, if you guys can do this one, you guys probably set. If you guys can do it in 20 minutes, if you guys can do it under an hour, you might need to study a little more. And this question, if you guys can do this in 20 minutes, it's kind of an accurate imitation of how difficult the actual midterm questions are gonna be. So if you guys can do this under 20 minutes, you should also be good. If you guys can do this under 20 minutes, you're definitely good. So don't worry about it. I guess yeah, Eric and I'll try. We'll try to solve these ourselves and send out solutions maybe like middle throughout the week. So again, please do these. These are probably the most important set of homework questions that you guys probably got. And again, I spent a lot of time doing this, so please made me feel happy that some of you guys actually did whatever I gave you, that because I spent an hour on it. But yeah.